Hey everyone, how are you? So do you know one of the reasons why people stopped trusting you is not because you are evil or dishonest? It is because you kept saying yes to things you should have said no. Okay? I know most times when we talk about having the ability to say no, we only focus on, when you cannot say no, you become vulnerable to manipulation, you suffer from empathy burnout. But today I want us to see the dangers of not being able to say no. Why? Because most people think that saying yes is a sign of kindness, but sometimes saying yes when you should have said no can make you become something you never intended to become. And when you cannot say no, you often end up making promises you cannot keep. Think about it. How many times have you agreed to attend an event? How many times have you agreed to lend someone money to complete a task or even to commit to something, knowing very well, deep down, you knew very well you're not going to be able to follow it through? The problem is not always that you are a bad person. The problem is that you are afraid to say no. And then over time, this creates a dangerous pattern. And one dangerous pattern that saying yes to things you should have said no creates is you can become a liar. Not necessarily because you intended to deceive someone, but because you gave a word without counting the cost. You said yes to avoid those uncomfortable conversations, and then later you end up canceling the plans, giving excuses, and even disappear. The truth is that every unnecessary yes has a potential to become a broken promise. So at the end of the day, you become a liar. The other dangerous pattern is that you can saying yes to things you should have said no can make you appear unfaithful. Why? Because unfaithfulness is not measured by how many commitments you make, but by how many commitments you keep. So a person who says yes every time often ends up disappointing everyone because they are carrying more than they can handle. And then at the end of the day, they become known for starting things they never finish, for starting things they cannot deliver. And so at the end of the day, you become or you appear unfaithful. Not because you are a bad person, but because you said yes to something you should have said no. The other thing, a third dangerous pattern is you can damage your trustworthiness. Trust is built when your words and actions matches. People begin to trust you when they know that if you say something, you are going to do it. But when your yes become your automatic answer, your words loses value. And so people stop relying on you. Because they even have backup plans. Maybe, for example, you are in a group and you're pledging money, and then you say yes. They even meet behind the tent without you, and they will say, let's find a backup plan because you know so and so. Yeah, anasemaga tu yes akataangi but hadelivi. And so you realize that many people say yes because they want to be liked. And they want, the world has a tendency of rewarding those people who overextend themselves. Yet that habit of saying yes to everything often produces an opposite result. Instead of being respected, they become known as unreliable. So people will always say, fulani, tuko na event na fulani amesema ni ataleta minji. Hebu tutafute mahali kwingine tutapata hizo minji. Juu mnajua huyo. Hajui kusema no, but they don't deliver. And so saying yes all the time to everything, to things you know you can't handle, can damage your trustworthiness. So let's learn to say no when it's necessary. Let's learn to say no. Because if you want to be reliable, if you want to be trustworthy, then you have to keep your promises. And people only believe in you because you keep your word every time. So stop overextending yourself. If you know you cannot be able to contribute a certain amount of money, just say no. Just say no, this time I won't be able. If you know you are not going to attend a certain event, just tell that person no, because at the end of the day, nobody will beat you. So instead of saying yes, then you damage your integrity. Okay? Because your integrity is protected every time your yes means yes and your no means no. So if you know very well that you're going to say yes just to avoid that unnecessary conversation, then be sure at the end of the day, you're going to, those habits will slowly turn you into a liar. So till next time, I wish you all the best as you learn to say no. And if you've not liked, if you've not subscribed, if you've not commented, kindly do so. And I really appreciate it. Thank you.